Video, we're going to create this pagination component, which is quite good. It brings in different pages depending on what button you press, and you can have more posts and more pages basically. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to fix this like component so that only one person is going to be able to like one post, and that's going to be the logged in user. We're going to also make it so that the person that created this post can only update their post, and they can only delete their post as well. So we're going to do those things in this video. So let's get started. What we'll do now is create a button to take us to here, this dashboard bit. We're going to just put it here and just call it create post, because this is a create post. And then on the locals 3000 home page, we're going to have just these posts showing. So let's do that. So in here, we're going to need to do a link first. Oops, Control Z. Right, let's just copy this one, I think. So if you press Control Alt and Shift and up, then it will give you the same button. And then here we want it to say dashboard. And then in here we're going to call it create posts. Right, that should have worked. And then let's have a look at it. I think it's here. Right, so here it is. So let's go back to, let's just press it. Yeah, it's come to here. So for example, we can go to localhost 3000, and then if we press it again, it should bring us back here. Yep, so it has. Okay, what we're going to do now is fix this like button, because if I click this button, you're going to see it stays at 7. But if I refresh the page now, it will increase to 8. And the reason is, okay, that didn't work. Yeah, so now it's gone up to 8. So the reason it's doing that is because it's making a call to this backend like count here, and then it's going to database, etc. And that's asynchronous, which means it doesn't happen straight away. So instead of doing that, we can set up some local state. So this updates straight away. So the way we do that is that we can type in use state, and then we should get some local state, and then we can have some likes here, and then set likes. And then in here, what we need to do is we need to do post data.like count. So put that question mark just in case it's not there, and then we don't want it to fire an error, like count. So now the like count should be in this object. And then we can take this. What's going on? Okay, yeah, it has set it. So here we want to reset these to likes. So here, so these should all now be likes. Okay, that should now fix that. Use state is not defined. Of course it's not. To bring in that use state. Where is that? Right. So now you can see that it's now taking it from the local state, not from the database. But it's still not going to work because we need to basically update it in the local state. I mean, it's still going to work in the same way for now. But if we set this like up in the local state to increase, so going in here and then setting this to post data.like and +1. See, all this is doing is setting up the local count to be one more, but actually this part is the part that actually puts it into the database. So this is going to show the database first, on the DOM first, and then this is going to actually make the call. So you'll see it update straight away. See, it's updated. But if you refresh the page, now the other part has made the call to store it in the database. Okay, hopefully that made sense. What I'm going to do now is implement the like, so that if the user that's logged in, they can only like it once, basically. So in order to do that, we're going to have to identify the user. Now, we've got two types of user. We've got a social user and we've got credentials user, and each of them are going to be treated differently. So this one is a credentials user because this doesn't have Gmail on the end. So what we need to do, we need to send the cookies for the credentials user to the backend. So what we can do in order to do that, we're going to do a few different things here. So this C config, it should have a cookies here. This should be cookies, so we can change that. And what I'm going to do as well, while I'm here, because this was from when I used to use it with the MERN stack, is actually go into the JavaScript here, user snippets, and change that to, I'm going to find that and then change it. Is it here? No, it's not here. So what I'm going to do, find that user info and change it to cookies. Info, here it is. And that way I won't have to do this like again, and hopefully I'm going to update the repo and drive with that as well, so you guys can have that. So now this cookies token is something that we're going to have to send, and in order to send it, we're going to have to bring it in first here. Import pass cookies from nookies. Okay, and then const cookies equals pass cookies. So now we've got that cookies. Let's just make sure that we're getting it in the like component. Actually, let's just wait till we get in the. Yeah, let's wait. Let's just try and get it here first. So action, and then cookies.token. I mean, this is what you really need to do if you're debugging, is just console log everywhere. But I like to do this while I'm developing as well. I think it just saves time, because if you get an error, sometimes you don't even know where the error is. Right, so where was we in the light components? Let's go back to the dashboard. Gone a bit too far. Right, now let's like something. So in the action we've got that now, so yeah, that's good. So what this bearer is like convention. You're supposed to put that bearer there just for convention reason. What I'm going to do is set up an authentication middleware, and what that authentication middleware is going to do is going to wrap this component here, and it's a higher order component. Now what middleware is, it's something that will change this rec object and then pass it on to here. So you'll see when we do it, but that's basically it. So this rec object will be changed, and this is the actual endpoint, but in between that is a middleware. So the middleware is basically just changing this and then passing it on to the endpoint. So let's go in, and that's the reason, because it's called middleware, because it's in the middle of the endpoint and the client. Right, so let's go to the lib, and then in here we're going to create a folder called middleware. Okay, and then we're going to call the middleware isauth.js. Right, so in here, if you type in middleware auth HOC, you should get this little boilerplate, and it's gonna take in the rec and then basically edit it. So, and then pass it back here. So this is here, is passing it back. So you'll see that once we do that. Right, so in order to do that, first of all, we need to target this. So how we're going to target this is, let me just close that. How we're going to target that is basically wrap this component. So let's bring in that authentication middleware here. What we can do, we can use this here, because we got the authorization being passed from here. So we can use that here, and what we need to do is we need to import the authentication middleware higher order component from where we just made it, basically. Lib, and then middleware, and then isauth. There it is. Right, now we need to wrap this here. Make sure you wrap the authentication, the async bit, because otherwise you might get some kind of weird errors. And then we need to wrap this whole thing. So really, this whole object has got this authentication thing now. And then what we need to do is we need to console log here first. Oh, it's already console logging, so let's try this now. Right, so we've got it here, and then hopefully it's not here yet. I wonder why that is. Let's refresh the page. Okay. Then hopefully we should get this here. Let's have a look. Let me just do the headers first. Actually, this worked before when I just did the headers, and then suddenly it just started working. So the headers is coming in. So the authorization is here. So basically we're looking for this. So let's try that. I mean, that might do it, I don't know. Yeah. So we're getting this now. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to check if we've got that rec.headers. So here, rec.headers and. So we don't get that error thing that where we wasn't actually getting anything. So we need to first check that we got that, and then we need to do that. And then if we do have that, we want to get the token. So the way that we get the token is we go var token rec.headers.authorization.split, and then we're splitting by the space, and we're taking the first object in the array. So let's have a look at this. So if we've got the bearer token here, we're taking, this is the 0 object and this is the first object, so that's why we're taking number 1 here. Then what we're doing is we're saying decoded equals and we're going to have to bring in JWT here, but JWT dot verify, and then we want to put in the token, and then the process.env.jwt secret. So process.env.jwt secret there. So let's console log decoded. Right, let's have got that. Okay, something's gone wrong here. We need to bring in JWT, and I never did it. Import JWT from JSON web token. There it is. Right. I forgot to put the const here, so that should be const. And make sure you log out and log back in, because I was getting some errors, but that's because I think my token is really old. So just make sure you do that. And what we're going to do is we want to console log the decoded token. So let's do that first. So if we do that, right, so now we've got this user ID, and what we want to do with that user ID, we want to find the user by that user ID and send that whole user to the basically this component here, which is why we're wrapping this component with the middleware. So let's do that. So we want the decoded dot user ID. Okay, and what we're going to do with that decoded user ID is we're going to say const user is equal to await user find by ID Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to find the underscore ID, sorry, and then that is going to be the decoded user ID. And the decoded user ID looks like it's a string, but if it's not, just stringify it, just put toString. But hopefully this should work. If it doesn't, then I will stringify it. But from here it looks like it is a string, so that's fine. So console log the user. Let's try that. Okay, something's wrong here. It's saying user is not defined. Oh, that's fine. Let's bring in that user then from the user. This is user and this is user. Okay, right, that should be fine. Right, let's do that again. Okay, so now we've got the user object. Brilliant. So now what we can do, we can set the user object to the rec ID, rec.user, sorry. Rec.user equals basically the user, and then in the rec user, we'll have the user object. So what we can do, we can come in here, we can say console log the rec. So let's come in here, and then what we're going to do, we're going to return, so we don't do anything else, but we're going to console log the rec ID, rec.user, sorry. So let's do it, let's make sure we know we're in here. So what is this? Let's just say put, because then we know we're in the put bit. Okay, right, now hopefully this should work. Okay, so we're getting it there, but we don't want it there. We're getting it here. We don't want it there, we want it here. We want it in this put bit. Okay. Is it coming into the put bit? Why is it not? Okay, I know why. Because we're not hitting the right. We need to hit the patch bit, not the put bit. Oops. Okay. It wasn't. This one was for. It was for updating the post, not updating the like. So this one is the right one. Sorry, I was in the wrong one. Right, now it should work. Okay, so we're in the patch bit. Perfect. Excellent. What we're going to do now is take that user and then push that user's ID into the post model. So the post, well, into the posts, and the post model will need to change, because at the moment we've got a count there, but instead of a count, what we want to do is we want to put in likes. We're going to call this likes, and then instead of a number, this is going to be a string of objects, or an array of strings, sorry. So, and then this can just be an empty array. Now what we need to do is we need to console log the rec user. So I've set up a console log here. So let's have a look at that. So yeah, now we're getting this. So what we can do is we can say if there's not a rec user, oops, then we don't want to do any of this. So we can just copy this. So if you press Shift Alt and down, you can just copy that exactly. And if there's not this, then we can say unauthenticated. Okay, right, we've changed this now to likes, so we can change this to likes, and this part will still be the same, but it will be likes. What we want to do, we want to get the rec.user.id, so let's console log this just to make sure we've got it. So we should have it, it's right here, but let's just console log it. User dot underscore ID. And what we want to do, we want to set this to string, because down here it's an object, you can see. And if we set it to string, then it will give us a string version, which is what we want. And then let's console log the post as well. So we can do post, and then we want the post.likes. So we should get an empty array for this, basically, because I don't think there's anything in there, but there might be, because I was testing this beforehand, so there might be something in there. This is an array, so we need to put the array in, otherwise it won't work. .likes. Let's put the question mark just in case, because sometimes it does error if it's not there. That should be fine. Right, let's now try and hit that. So here we've got the, let's just get rid of this because we don't need that bit anymore. But we've got that, and then that, which is what we want. So we've got the like, and we've got the ID. So now what we want to do, we want to push this, we want to first of all check. So this array already exists, actually. This string already exists in here, this one. So what we're going to do is actually check if that's in there, and if it is, then we're going to do something, and if not, we're going to do something else. So const index, so this is checking for the index of post. We need to make sure we put that as 0. Do the question mark, dot likes, dot find index, find index, we're going to find the ID, and if this ID is equal to, so equal to rec., so basically this, then what we can do, we can console log the index just to see what we've got. So this, in this case, it should be 1 because it is in there. But if the index is -1, so if index is -1, which means it's not in there, then we want to put it in there. If index triple equals -1, then we want to do post likes dot push what are we pushing? Right. Post like dot push this rec dot user dot ID else. What we want to do is we want to filter, so it's going to be pretty much similar to this, but we're going to, instead of likes, we're going to put filter here. Oops. Likes.filter, and we're going to filter by the ID, where the ID is not equal to the rec dot, basically that there, so we don't need that bit. Right, okay, hopefully that should work. And then what we want to do here is, okay, we've changed that already, so that should be fine. So hopefully this should work now. Okay, let's see what's going on in the back end. So it's basically got rid of it. It was in there. Let's because if the index was 0. So now what we can do is test it again, and it should appear. Yeah, so it's in there now. So this is working. So if it's in there, then we want to push it in. If it's then we want to filter it out. If it's not, then we want to push it in, basically. So it's doing what we expect. Now we need to fix this in the front end, just to make sure that that's working as well. But this looks like it's working now. In the back end, we need to do the same thing in the front end. So this is now going to become likes.length, because this is now an array, and we're checking for the length of the array and putting that in the local state. And then we need to check if this DB user, the local DB user, or the one in the database, is, if it's present in this likes array. So what we need to do, we need to get it first. We need to delete this bit because it's already up here, so we can't use it twice. This is loading an array. But anyway, so in here we need to say const has liked is equal to post data and then question mark dot likes. So we're checking in this array for includes. So if includes, and then what we're checking is that the DB user, we want to put this question mark because otherwise the DB user might not be there. Dot DB user dot underscore ID. So we want to check if this underscore ID is in this likes array of underscore IDs, and if it is, what we need to do is we need to say if has liked, then we want to set likes. So we want to get this, and if this is true, if it's in there, then we want to do likes dot length -1, and then if it's not true, then we want to do the opposite, basically. Else, put that in there, and then press save. Then let's get this and put it up here in the right place. Let's have a look at this. So, right, 1, refresh, 1, refresh, 0, no likes yet, refresh. So you can see it's going to 0 and we're refreshing and it's still saying at 0. If we put it at 1 and we refresh, it's still at 1. So that's working. Right, so what I wanted to do is actually, if the likes is equal to 0, it's still showing that likes, which I think we tried to get rid of before. So something's wrong here, it's not getting rid of it. If likes equals 0, else we want to give the number of likes, then that should fix that. Right. That should fix that now. Right. So if we go to 0, no likes here, perfect. And if we refresh it, it still works. Okay. Now we've been sending this credentials user when we're logging in and sending it with the like, but instead of doing that, we want to now use the Next-Auth social user. The social user is obviously using Next-Auth, which is a little bit easier actually. We don't need to send the headers and cookies and things like that. All we need to do is get the session. We can retrieve the session by using get session actually. So that's here, and then we need to import this from, see if it will import. Don't think it will. We need to import it from Next-Auth React. Next, yeah, that one. And then we just need to import this. And then first of all, let's just console log this and return. So return and then clog session. So you can see that we're going to get the session. So let's log in first. So we've logged in. Right, let's go there somehow. Right, so now if we like it, we should get something in here. Yeah, so let's now retrieve the user from the database using this email. So we can do that. So we've done that before. So, const user is equal to await user find by find one, I think it is the email one. So this one is, we have to do this, and then the email address that we want is this one here. So it's session.user.email. So session, let's do that question mark thing, question/user/email, and then let's put this console log the user now, because we know we've got the session. Right, hopefully that should work. Okay. And then we've got the user. So now we've got the user ID, so that makes the user a bit more useful here. Because before we just had a user without the user ID here. So now what we can do, we can actually just return this component as we was doing here. So we need to do this, and then we need to do this, and then we need to wrap this all in a component. So if there is a session, then we want to do basically all of this. Okay, and if there is a rec headers, then we want to do this basically. So this should actually work. Right, so the light component, refresh, I think you should get rid of it, I think. It's still there. Okay, no lights yet. Okay, then it should get rid of it. That's all working. Any errors? Just make sure there's no errors. Good. Right, then let's log out and let's just test the other one just to make sure that one's still working. Set that dog. This is the problem with having two different types of users, that you have to test both for it just to make sure that they keep on working. I mean, the social one is a little bit easier to use. Right, let's see if there's any issues with that. That looks fine. No issues. See if it goes back. Yep, no issues. Okay, so that's all working now. Do now is move this patch bit, which is used for the likes, into its own component and not here, because the reason is because we've got this authenticated part which is updating this route, which is being used on this route, but it's not actually needed for that, it's needed for the patch part. So what we're going to do, we're going to just move this component into its own likes component, and into its own kind of backend component. So we're just going to copy and paste it, because it's going to be exactly the same otherwise. Paste. And then this one will need that, but we're going to need to come out one step, I think. And it would be pretty much the same. So we don't need this, so we can just get rid of it for the like, sorry. And then for this one, we don't need the like anymore. We don't need this bit anymore. Also, we don't need the patch route. But I mean, we could leave it in there because it's not going to really hit that route anymore. But let's just get rid of it anyway. Just to make it a little bit less complicated. Right, and then in the front end, we're going to need to then target likes. We call it likes, yeah. So this should hopefully just work as normal. So let's try that. Right, so one like. Let's just make sure that it's hit refresh. Yeah, it's fine. It's still working. There's no errors in the console. Right, now what we're going to do, we're going to use, just close all these, there's too many things open. We're going to use, we're going to create a separate create object, because here that get is going to be open to everyone. So that page, sorry, the income, this page here, so that's going to be open to everyone. But this one here is going to be protected, so we just need to protect that. Only the person who's creating the post is the person that's going to log in, and that person's post is going to have their ID. So that's what we need to set up now, basically. So in order to do that, we need to just create another one of these and call it create JS, and then create JS. Yeah, that's spelled correctly. And then you just need to copy this, paste it in here, and then we don't need this one anymore because we've got it there. And then in here we don't need this one because we got it in the other one. Here we need to do the authenticated thing, so let's start typing in authenticated. It might automatically bring it in, I doubt it, but let's try it. Okay, nope, it didn't. Going to here, I think this one's got an authenticated. Oops. I think we need to take one of these away. That should work. Right, now let's just console log the rec user. Right, and also we need to go into here, post actions. Yeah, post actions, and we need to send the config with the cookies in it, basically. So this one has it. So we need to put this in the update one as well, because we only want people that is their post to update it, so we can fix that as well. And we only want people to delete their posts, so let's go do that one as well. But here we need this first, and then in here we need that as well. Let's just copy this one, put that in here, and then we can have a config object as well that we send. So we need an empty object and then a config object. But hopefully that should work. I'm not 100% sure if that will work. We can try one. Let's just try this one. Okay, post deleted, and then let's do a refresh. Yeah, that's worked. Okay, perfect. Right, and then, oh, hold on. We haven't actually tried to protect it, but at least it's still working. But we need to do that as well. So in here, let's first of all sort out this route. Let's make sure first of all we're getting this when we create. So let's create a new, let's just create one by someone else. The title can be, let's pick one from here. Let's do the Grand Canyon. America, let's do North America. Mountains, that should be okay. Where is it? This one here. Right, yeah. Submit. Right, let's now have a look. Okay, the API resolved without sending the requests. So it's not actually getting to here for some reason. I think I know why. Because we're still sending to another route. This one here. Right, this should be two, not posts, but create. Right, that should now work. Let's do that. Submit. Right, and then we get a user? Yeah, so we've got the rec user here, and then what we need to do is we need to say if not rec user, then basically just carry obviously give an error. So if not rec user, return res.status 404, please log in. Yeah, please log in, that will do, because there's no user basically. And then what we need to do, we need to basically change this. Before we do that, let's go into the post model, and we need to do a user ID object, user ID, that's going to be of type string, type string, right, that's perfect. Anything, that is perfect, right. And now we've done that, we need to restart the server, because otherwise the model doesn't get loaded basically. And then so we've done that bit. Now we need to put the rec user ID in here. So let's go put that up here. Dot user ID, and we want to make that equal to the rec dot user dot underscore ID, and we want to convert this to a string because it's an object. Otherwise, that should then be okay. Let's do another one. Okay, we've done the Aurora this. I don't know what this case is. Partition. Creator is going to be Seb. Message. Let's just copy this message. Tags Mexico. Don't know if that's right, but anyway, that can be the stuff for now. Well, is it that one? Right, it's that one. Submit. Right, let's now check what's going on. So we've got the user ID in there. Perfect. Now, when we do an update, we need to check for that as well. So let's start doing that. I think this is the update route. What we can do, we can just go in here. I think we send the same object, do we? Let's go into the here and have a look what we're sending. When we do an update, yeah, we're sending the same thing. So let's do the same thing and see if that works. It might actually work. Yeah, let's do that first. Let's update one of these because they don't have the rec user in there. And then submit. Okay, something's gone wrong. Put. That's because I don't have this object, so that's good. At least we know that. So let's get this and put this in here. And then put this as this. Actually, we want it for the delete bit as well, so that's perfect. It's right there already as well. Right, let's do this again. Server error. What's wrong now? Authenticate. Authenticate is not defined. No, it should be authenticated. Right, submit. Right, that's worked. It's updated. User ID, and put that here. It might actually work. Let's try that. Right, let's should we do that same one? Let's just do the same one. It might work. Yep, the user ID is in there. Perfect. Now we need to do the same thing for the delete. So there's not a user in here, what we can do, we can just say return, and we could check if the right user is updating their own product, and that's quite simple to do. What we need to do is we just need to say if the post ID is not equal, so we can do that here. If post dot underscore user ID dot, if post dot user ID is not equals, I'm going to take this one not off, not equals to that, then we can say invalid user. Yeah, that should work. Right, let's just try that one more time. Let's try updating someone else. Okay, 404 user. Okay, so at the moment we can't update that one because that one don't have a user, sorry, so that won't work. So what we need to do is we need to update this one again. So that's good. Okay, did that one work? Not found. Let's console log this post. Let's see what we're getting in there. And then we can decide what to do. Oh, we've seen an array, that's why I thought so. Okay, so this should work. If we, you can see that it's in an array. That's why it's not working. So this should be like that, either 0. And then that will get rid of the array basically, because then it will choose the first item in the array. So hopefully that should work. Right, so that's worked. Yeah, perfect. So this is why we console log everything, because just because we need to know what's going on. So that's working. So this one should be a similar thing, I think. Is make sure that the user that has created the post can only delete their own post. So in order to do that, we need to find the user. Let's put that to string. And then we can pretty much do what's up here. So we need to do that and that. Bring that in here. Let's just return here so we don't actually delete anything for the moment. Okay, we've got two things called post, so let's change that to post 1. Let's change that to post 1. Let's console log a post 1 dot user ID. I'm gonna have to put it in an array, I think. Right, let's try that. Okay, so we're getting that user ID, and this is that user, this one as well. So we're getting both of them. So this should now work. So if we take this out and we try and delete it, it should actually delete because we have the same of these two. Post deleted. Let's see, it should get rid of it. So yeah, it's working. So everything's working there. Right, now we've done the create, we've done the update, we've done the delete as well, partially. What we can do, we can just test this delete route just to make sure we are getting a user in here. But seeing as the top bit we've got a user, I don't think there's any danger of us not getting a user in here because it's the same object. But anyway, might as well just test it just to make sure, because you never know, sometimes stuff just happens that you didn't anticipate. Let's delete this one. Okay, post deleted. It didn't hit that route, did it? Let's have a look. No, it didn't. Let me just do a few. First of all, make sure that we're getting in that bit. Okay, that worked. Okay, it doesn't look like it's actually hitting that bit. I think I know why. I'm not 100% sure if you need this object, so try it without the object. Let's try that. See what happens. Right, so we're in there, so that's why it wasn't working. That object was not needed. Perfect. And we're in that bit because it's showing that we're in that bit. In order to get to this bit, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're logged in, because we don't want anyone to come here. I mean, it's fine for them to come to the home page, but to get to this dashboard bit, they should really be logged in. And we created a high order component before, so we can just wrap it in that. So auth wrapper here. Need to wrap this in the auth wrapper, basically, this component. So let's just do that, and then that should stop anyone coming here without needing to come. So that, well, basically that's not logged in, sorry. So auth wrapper from dash 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 dash, and then the place that we're going to is auth, and then auth wrapper. And then we just need to wrap this in the auth wrapper. Perfect. Then what we can do, we can just test this. So we're here and we're logged in, but let's log out and see what happens. So we've been pushed into login, which is what I would expect to happen. And let's see if we can go to that route. Use a slash dashboard. I doubt it, but let's just try anyway. Again, we've been pushed to login, so that's perfect. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a pagination for our posts. Let's have a look at the post. So we're going to do it on this page, but let's quickly do the link for this. So if you come here, then we've got now 12 posts. I've just made up some few extra posts, but imagine we had hundreds and hundreds of posts. We want to only send the posts from the back end, from our database, to the front end if we need to, because obviously if we've got hundreds and hundreds of posts, that's going to take quite a long time to do. So that's the reason for kind of setting up this pagination, so that we can just only send like one page of 6 items, for example. Right, and then what's next? So now we're going to do the pagination bit. So in order to do this pagination bit, we just need this pagination component, I think. Hold on, where is it? This one. And we're going to do pagination on the back end. Normally you can do it on the front end or the back end, but really there's no point of doing it in the front end, because basically if you're just doing it on the front end, the posts are still going to be sent to the front end. And for our size of number of posts, we've only got 12. Actually, it's worth doing it on the front end, but if you had more posts, then it's not worth it. So this is why we're just going to do it on the back end, because it's better. Sorry, I'm jumping around. It should just be paginate component. Right, paginate component, and then that's going to be this. Let's just go in and bring in anything we need as well. Take anything out that we don't need, so we're not going to need that for now. We're not going to need that, we're not going to need that, we're not going to need that or that. Okay. And everything else we can leave for the same for now. Oh, we haven't. Let me just quickly do something. NAFCE. So that needs to be in there basically. Control X, Control V. This can be just a fragment. Okay, that looks fine for now. And a on change in here as well. So on change equals that, and then what we want to do, we want to take it to a handle change. So handle change, and then for the handle change we want to say e.target dot text context, text content, that's the one. And then what we can do is we can go in here and then type in CF, and then in that CF we want to call it handle change. Handle change, and then in the handle change we want to take in a number, and then what we want to do, we want to say if the number is triple equals 0, then we want it to be 1. And then we want to say, let's console log the number basically. The number. Okay, right, let's take a look at this. Oh, we haven't brought it in anyway. So what we need to do is we need to get this dashboard, and then where is the dashboard? Posts, I think, no, it's not in there, it's in here somewhere. So SRC dashboard, we want to get this, copy it and paste it in here. And then what we need to do, we need to get rid of this index page and rename this to index. So rename to index. We need to bring in the paginate component into here. So paginate is this component here. Right. And then, so let's have a look at that. No, we're in the wrong page. Right, so we don't need this form anymore. Where is this form coming from? We need to fix this up a little bit, I think. Get this out, and then we'll leave that for now. We might need it later. And we're gonna probably need to get change this as well. Right, let's see what that looks like. We might need to change a few other things, and this one as well, I think. Refresh this page. Okay, so now we've got the paginate component. So it's got these. We're going to fix this up a little bit as well, so it looks a bit neater. But yeah, that's essentially what we needed. And you can see as we're clicking on it, it's giving the number here. So it's console logging that number. So we need to now handle these numbers in the back end. But that's pretty much what we need. A bit of styling above this just to make it like a little box here, and we're going to probably use that for the search component that we're going to make next as well. But for now, I found this item. It's kind of a made up item box kind of thing, so you can see that it's providing a little box over here. So let's use that here. Then we need to change this to, I think, 5. And then we're going to probably need to bring some things in, like the paper. We're going to need to bring these styled things in first, and the paper. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh, we haven't actually brought it in, so let's bring it in here, the item. And then let's say, please select page. Okay, that should do. Please select page. Right, it should work. Right, let's have a look at that. Okay, so you can see that looks a bit better. Let's put the same thing around this. So we need paper around this. Yeah, so that looks actually okay. We might give it a bit more styling. So SX, and then we want border radius 4. Margin top 1 gives a bit of margin top, so MT. Then we got padding 16. Then we've got elevation 6. Put the elevation on the outside of this. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, looks a lot bigger than I was expecting. Let's change this, let's get rid of this padding. See what that looks like. Yeah, it looks a bit better. And then let's change the colour of this as well. I think the pagination, do colour primary, I think. Don't know. Yeah, it looks a bit better, I think. Right, perfect. We've done the styling. Now let's make a call to the back end with this number. So what we want to do, we want to do C data. Should get a bit of boilerplate. Make a get request, and the get request is to API, then going to be posts, and then going to be paginate, and then page. Right, paginate, and then page. The number, sorry, and then we're going to point that number to a page, and then let's console log what we get back. Okay, that should work quite well. And then so let's go. Okay, let's set up a folder called Paginate. Okay, and then in that folder, hold on, we're in the wrong place. Let's put that Paginate in there. Then in that folder, we want to create a dynamic route called page, and then call that JS. Okay, and then let's copy this light component. It's not going to be exactly the same, but we can just copy it. Let's get rid of all of this. Don't need any of it. It should be if get, because it's going to be get now. Okay, type in rec method. Should get some boilerplate. So let's just test for that. So let's see. Axios is not defined. Okay, that's fine. Paginate this one, I think. Axios is not defined. Okay, Axios is that one. And it should be defined. See if we get it here. API not resolved. Paginate. Oh, this authenticated bit. That's why we don't need that. Right, it's now hit it. Right, perfect. Okay, what we can do now is we can get the page from the rec query. And then we click in here. And then in that we want to say const limit then const start index equal to number, wrap the page in a number, just in case we get a string, because here we might get a string back, then -1, and then times that by the limit, okay, times that by the limit, and then that will give the starting index of the page, and then total, so const total is equal to await post dot count documents. So this is a mongoose method which will give back the total number of posts, basically. Const await const posts equals await post dot find, and then what we want to do is we want to say sort by the limit, sort by the ID, underscore ID. We want to put that to 1. If you put it to -1, it will go backwards, but that's fine. I think we want it as 1. Limit is going to be limit. I think if you want the newest ones first, you'd put it -1, but yeah, you can put it either way actually. But I think 1's fine. We can do -1 as well, and skip start index. So that means basically it's going to skip according to the start index. So the start index, for example, if this page number was 2, then it would start at 1 basically. And then what we want to do, we want to do res.json. Let's do return res.json. Res.status 200 maybe, and then instead of message we want the data, and then we want the count to be maths.ceil total divided by limit. And that's all we need really. And then return. Let's just make sure we're getting that in the front part. Okay, let's try that. Posts, that should be posts. Sorry about that. Right. I've just done some debugging because it wasn't working. So I've done console logs everywhere. And that's the way that you can find things. And what I did, I didn't have a console log here, so when I did that, I found out this error. Then I realized that this is was spelt incorrectly. So if you fix that, then you should get the response that we wanted, which is here. So if we do it again, we should get another response, which we have. So that's perfect. That's what we want. And you can see that there are 2 different strings. So one of them with India at the beginning and one of them with Britain at the beginning. So that's what we want. There's going to be 6 of these posts on each page, so we're going to have 12 altogether. Obviously we're not going to need 10 pages like this, but I just wanted to show you how that works basically. So now what we're going to do, we're going to now into Redux, and then we're going to share this state across 2 different pages, so index and the paginate component. So this is the benefit of Redux, that we can use it across a number of components. So let's start doing that. So let's go into the action creator, and then if you type in action creator, if you're using my boilerplate thing, snippet generator, let's call this paginate, and then paginate posts, and then paginate posts, and then we're just going to take in a number, small number, and then let's create some of these. So we want to copy this here, and then we'll call this get paginate request paginate. And let's just copy this so we can paste this everywhere. That should have worked, and then let's go back in here. We can do get paginate request, bring that in, and then get paginate success, bring that in, get paginate fail, bring that in. Okay, and then we just need to copy that thing that we was using here. So let's Control X that, put that in here. We don't need this anymore. We will need to do dispatch here, so dispatch paginate posts, bring that in. Okay, and then we want to pass in a number. We need to set up this dispatch as well, so const dispatch, because use dispatch, yep, there is. Don't know, hopefully that's brought in. If it's not, then let's bring it in. Yep, we need to bring it in. Okay, and then we're going to need to get the paginate from the Redux state. So let's type in let's get the Redux state get going first. Let's type in reducer, and then the reducer is going to be called paginate reducer, and then it's going to have an empty state to begin with. Get paginate request, okay, and then it's get paginate success, get paginate fail, okay, and then this is going to be posts, and then the reducers, we need to bring it in here, so we call it paginate reducer, so oops, paginate reducer, okay, so we can get rid of that bit and that bit, and we can bring that in, yep. Right, that's done, and then we need to bring that in here. Where is it? Paginate, we need to bring it in here, so you select, I think, so that one, and then it's going to be paginate, and then it's going to be posts, right, and then here we can do posts dot count, I think it is, yep, count, or 1. If we don't have it, we just want to return 1. Okay, let's see if that's had any impact. It might have. Use selector is not defined. It did have an impact. Right, where is that? Let's bring that in. Loading. Okay, so it's not done anything yet. Okay, so right, this should change into 2. Post.filter is not defined. Okay, index, the index page there is. So we can pretty much change all of this to what we had on the paginate page. put that in there. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that. Don't need that. Do we need that? Yeah, I think we need that in a bit. Let's do paginate posts. Let's do paginate here. Is it called paginate? What's it called? Paginate post, I think. No, we don't need to do that here, I don't think. Oh, yeah, we can do it here. And then const number equals 1. Then pass in that, because it does need something, otherwise it won't work. Right, hopefully that should have done that. And then we don't need this anymore. Let's console log the posts. That might not work actually, because I think this will throw an error here, because we called it data, post.data. Data. Then let's see in here if we can do data. Right, hopefully that should work. Right, let's see if that worked. Cannot read data of undefined. Getting that error where it said posts.data, it wasn't working because we didn't put a question mark here, so just make sure you do that. You should do that always, because otherwise if something's not there when the page is started, we'll throw that error, and that's why I was getting that error. But anyway, let's go into here and say dispatch is not defined. Where is that in index? Okay, that's a new error, so let's fix that one. Right, use dispatch. Okay, I think that's already in there, so I don't need to bring it in. Okay, paginate posts is not defined, which I don't think it is, so bring that in. That's probably why it's not working. Let's see, I think that might work. Okay, still not working. Some console logs here, because I was not getting the right thing back. So yeah, so I've done console log here, but it wasn't hitting this console log. And the reason is because in the post actions, I've called this, posts success instead of paginate success. So yeah, if you just change that, it should now be filling this, which is what we want. And then we've got the pagination success basically. So we've got 6 posts on this page and 6 page on this post on this page. Perfect. This is exactly what we want. So obviously if you had loads and loads of posts, then this would make more sense, but we've only got 2 pages of posts. But anyway, it's a way for you to kind of expand your app and make it better. Page. These update and delete posts make sense, but if we're in the home page, we don't want them there because they look a bit weird. What's the point of having them here? Someone that's viewing this site is not going to come and update and delete their posts, and anyway, if they're not the user, they shouldn't be actually seeing that anyway. But we don't want it on this page, so what we can do is, if you type in nrouter, if you're using my boilerplate snippet generator, and then here you can do crouter, and then if you console log crouter path name, router.path name, so this will give us our path. So at the moment we're in a slash path there. So what we need to do is we need to say if we're in that path, then don't show these buttons. So router dot path name triple equals, let's do it as the other page, the other path. So src dot user dot dashboard, I think dashboard. Right. So and then press and we want to show this. We can put both of these in here, I think. Right, then both. that like that, and put that. Hopefully that's worked. Something it doesn't like. Let's try and put that. Right, we need to go in a fragment. So that hopefully that's going to work now. So those have disappeared. So if we go to the create post, they should reappear. Yeah, so that's perfect. Helped, then please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like or leaving a comment. All of this helps the channel and it helps me make these videos. So you can help me help you.